welcome back. Thank you for joining me today on my sofa. I wanted to make a very chilled video today. I got a comment on one of my come thrift with me videos the other day asking me what my favourite places to thrift were in Melbourne, and I thought that was such a good question, and I don't know why I've never spoken about that before. I always just kind of take you with me, which is fun, but I thought it could be really useful for those who live in Melbourne and are trying to get into thrifting to have some suggestions, or if you're planning on coming to Melbourne for a holiday or moving here and you're into thrifting, I thought it might be useful to you. So I'm going to run you through my top 5 places to thrift. These are in no particular order, to be honest. I love them all for different reasons, which I will go into in this video. I will stop rambling on and get into it. So place number 1 is a place that I go to a lot in my videos, and that is Savers. I believe this is the Australian equivalent of Value Village. I don't know if they're just very similar or if they are actually part of the same brand, but they tend to be huge big warehouses, which I love. You can spend hours in there. The prices of Savers, I think, varies. I've found that it depends on the area that the Savers is in. I also find that it's very kind of random. Like sometimes they price things what I would deem as sort of incorrectly. They'll see something and think it's worth more than it is, think it's a cool brand, but it's actually not. So yeah, something to be wary of, but Savers is one of my favorite places to go. I've never got into a Savers and walked out without finding anything. They also have lots of deals on, so if you sign up to their sort of members program, they occasionally will post on their social media that they're having a discount day, and it'll be a certain percentage off when you spend over a certain amount. I would highly recommend going on those days. So my personal favorite Savers is the Moorabbin store, but that is a bit sort of out of the city, so depending on where you're staying or where you live. They also have one in Fitzroy, which was also great. I had a really good experience there. Slightly smaller, I think. Sarah and I recently went to the Brunswick Savers, which was also great, I think, because that's quite an edgy area. The prices were a little bit higher. If you're north of the city and don't want to make the trek down to Moorabbin, which is south of the city, then that's the one for you. Plenty of locations, really great. That's my number 1. Location number 2 is Hunter Markets. Myself and Sarah both used to work at Hunter Markets, but the reason we started working there was because we shopped there together. It is down in Mentone, which is probably about a 30 to 40 minute journey south of the city. It's super easy to get to via train. I used to commute there every single day on the train, so it's very accessible. It's now on pretty much every weekend on both Saturdays and Sundays, and it's essentially a market where people can go and sell their pre-loved clothes. It's a huge indoor warehouse. It's mostly female clothing, although they are trying to branch more into sort of unisex and men's clothing as well. There's a little coffee window there with coffee and pastries. They have great music blasting. The most important part is that they review the store holders' applications. So when you apply for a store there, you have to basically give a detailed overview of what you're going to sell, and they approve or don't approve you based on that. So it just means that it's not going to be all that kind of ratty, rubbishy old lady bad quality stuff that you'll find in op shops or Savers, for example. It's all going to be really cool stuff. It's going to be good quality. It's going to be on trend. Yeah, I've bought half of my wardrobe from Hunter Markets. It's also just a really fun atmosphere and a good vibe and a really fun day out. So yeah, that's number 2. Hunter Markets, would 100% recommend. My number 3, Fitzroy Markets. While I'm on the topic of markets, very sort of similar vibe to Hunter Markets. It's half indoor, half outdoor. I don't exactly know how the system works here because I've never worked there, but it seems that they also have a system of vetting who has a stall, because it's all very edgy, on trend. Fitzroy Market is also not just fashion like Hunter Markets is, so there's stalls that have homeware and things like that before. Oh, hi Han. And then there's also a market across the street that's like a maker's market called Rose Street Markets, I think. Which is also really fun, and you can pop over there after Fitzroy Markets. I found that Fitzroy Markets is a little bit pricier because it's those sort of vintage resellers more than people just like emptying out their wardrobe. So you tend to pay a little bit more at Fitzroy Markets. You can still definitely find some bargains, but it seems to be more those kind of curated vintage collections that people are selling on. They do it sort of for a living or like a side hustle. Love Fitzroy Markets. Wish I lived closer so I could go more often, to be honest with you. My fourth location is a place called the Posh Op Shop. I'm pretty sure they actually have another branch, which I've never been to, which is dumb. I need to do that. But the branch that I always go to is in Elsternwick, which is again south of the city, but not as far as Mentone or Moorabbin or any of those places. This is obviously an op shop, but I don't really know what it is about it. It just feels very like a little treasure trove. There's a lot to look through, a bit of everything, homeware, fashion, there's some vintage clothing, there's lots of shoes and boots and bags, there's wedding dresses, there's like literally everything you could ever imagine. I found some really cool vinyls in there. I found an ABBA vinyl in there, which was like the best things that ever happened to me. And yeah, they just always have some absolute gems, and you can get some real bargains. Although a lot of the stuff is vintage, there are some things that are really reasonably priced too. They have furniture, like literally everything, and it's just one of those places that you feel like you could spend hours and just get lost in there. But yeah, it's just kind of a bit of a weird, quirky experience. It's hard to really explain without just going in there and seeing what I mean. I love it. It's one of my favorite places to go. It's just a bit different than your average op shop. Can I help you? Thank you. And then last but by no means least is a place called Goodbyes. This is also a chain. There's a few all around Melbourne. I've only been to the one in Prahran because that's closest to me. I believe they've now also opened up in another state. I want to say maybe Brisbane or something, which is really, really cool to see that they're expanding. And I just think it's such a cool concept and a cool store. You essentially take your clothes like you would to donate to an op shop, and they have a look through them. You kind of leave it with them for a few hours or whatever their capacity is. They have a look through and they decide what they want to resell and what they don't. So again, they're quite particular with what they'll sell. So it's only cool stuff, good quality, in good condition. They will then take those off your hands and get your information. They'll then pop that stuff into their stores, and when they sell those items, the money will go straight into your account. And obviously they take a percentage so that they can make a profit, and then I think it's after a certain amount of time the items are reduced. So if they don't sell for maybe like 3-4 weeks, for example, I don't know what it is, your items will be reduced. And then if they don't sell after 2 months, say, then you'll be notified and you'll come and collect those items from the store. So they don't have the same stock sitting in there for ages and ages and ages, which is such a good system for people who are selling and don't want to have to, you know, book a market stall or put things on Depop. It really takes all the effort out of selling your pre-loved stuff. It's a great way to make some cash, and it's also great for them because they're getting really great high quality stuff. They're getting it on high rotation. So every time you go in, there's going to be a whole chunk of new items in there. It's just a win-win. I think it's such a smart business model. I'm kind of like angry at myself for not thinking of it myself, but that's fine. And it's just like a really nice, well-kept store. It feels so different to, for example, the Posh Op Shop, which is like carnage, chaos, digging through piles of vintage treasure, which is like still a great experience. But this feels like you're really in a boutique store. It's still packed with really good stuff, but it just feels like a bit more of a premium experience. So if you are wanting to get into op shopping, but a place that's really busy and packed overwhelms you, Goodbyes I think is a really great place to start, because it does feel like you're somewhere a bit more sort of high end, a bit more curated. I just think it's an easier thrifting experience. I would recommend going there if you're looking for maybe a sort of piece for an event or something that's a bit more high quality. You're happy to pay a bit more for kind of those bigger labels. I'd say Goodbyes would be the place for you. I think that's everything. There's a ton more, obviously all of your regular op shops around Melbourne, Salvos, Vinnie's, all of those. I definitely spend plenty of time in those as well. But yeah, just wanted to give you my top 5 recommendations. If you are planning on coming to Melbourne and want to do some thrifting, I would 100% recommend checking any or all of these out. Please let me know if you do, and let me know what you think and what you find. I would love to know. Let me know if you're going, because I might be there. Most likely I'll be there on the weekends. Yeah, I'm just very, very lucky that I live in a city that has a lot of great spots to thrift, and some really, really cool locations. But that is all. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for a little bit on my sofa. This was a really fun chat. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do. I post a lot of fashion content, thrifting content around Melbourne, and hey, this goes down well, maybe some more sort of informative thrifting content. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Love you. Have a great day.